When you're designing your new house, you want to make sure your primary living space is laid out best for how you'll live in it. In this video, I'll walk you through 16 tips on how you can design your living room. Hi there, I'm Cale with Hodeby, House Design by You, where I bring you design tips and guides for your new home design. In this video, I'll walk you through 16 tips on how to design your living room, discussing the many things that go into designing the space. The goal of this video is to give you some tools to consider when you create a diagram for your ideal living space, sized and laid out to create a comfortable room. You'll create this diagram to use as a guide while designing your new house. At the end of this video, I have some bonus tips for your house design, and I'll let you know where you can find a great resource for more information to design your new home. Let's get started. Tip number 1. You need to figure out your room personality. This means considering what you want the room to be, not as a style or decor, but from a lifestyle standpoint. Do you want a cozy and comfortable room, a more formal space to impress visitors, or a space that can accommodate large groups for entertaining? Figuring out the personality will influence how you plan the room. Tip number 2. Determine any special elements you want for the room. Do you want a fireplace, a bay window, a window seat, or a grand piano? Anything unique and interesting for the room is what we're after here. Tip number 3. Consider the activities you want in the room. Besides watching TV, will you be playing video or board games with your family and friends, or including your dining table for family meals? Tip number 4. Decide which existing furniture you'll use in the new room. Each piece will need to be measured so that you can draw them in a diagram of the new room. Tip number 5. Determine any special items to be included in the room, such as freestanding shelving units or display cabinets, built-in shelving, or media centers. Determine the sizes you have or want for each of these. Tip number 6. Research any new furniture you want for the room, selecting pieces that can represent what you want, even if they're not the final pieces. The sizes of these will be used for your diagram. Tip number 7. Create a room diagram of your preferred layout. You can create this plan by drawing on simple graph paper where each square equals a certain length, such as a foot for each square or 2 squares. You can either draw directly on the grid or cut out furniture pieces to size so that you can create various options. You can also use a simple drawing program if you wish. Don't sweat it too much though, as it doesn't have to be pretty. It's just something for you to reference as your roadmap on your design journey. Now the next steps are guides to creating a good room layout for your diagram. Tip number 8. Always have at least 2 points of access to the seating area, one on each side of the group, laying out the furniture so that people don't have to crawl over everyone else to find a place to sit. It's preferable to have access to at least 3 or 4 spots if you can. Tip number 9. Be sure to provide 18 inches between a coffee table and the seating. It can be a bit more than that, but 18 is a comfortable distance to sit down a glass or plate. Tip number 10. Provide 30 inches or so to access an area behind furniture that's not used for circulation. An example of this is to allow you to open windows without crawling on or reaching over furniture. Tip number 11. Provide at least 36 inches of width for any primary circulation within the room. 42 to 48 inches is even better. Tip number 12. Plan to have a sofa table behind any couch or sectional where circulation will occur behind them or when you look into the room. The backs of these furniture pieces are large and not pleasant to look at, so a table is good to have. It also provides a buffer for those sitting on the sofa. Tip number 13. If you want a dining table in this space, be sure to include the following clearances. Provide at least 36 inches from the table edge to a wall, 48 inches from the table edge to a hutch or side table, and 48 to 60 inches between the table and adjoining furniture, depending on the table's placement. Be sure to account for the additional table length when leaves are added for special occasions. Tip number 14. Don't put fireplaces in the corner. These create a large bulk that make a room feel smaller. Instead, place the fireplace along a wall. Tip number 15. Don't place a TV over the fireplace. The TV will be too high up, making it uncomfortable to watch. TVs should be at eye level while seated. Tip number 16. If you want simultaneous views of the TV, fireplace, and windows, plan the room to have at least one outside corner. This allows you to place the fireplace on one wall with the TV on the adjacent wall. Windows can be placed to either side of each. You can use an L-shaped seating layout to take advantage of both views. These tips will provide you a living space that is appropriately sized for comfort and enjoyment. Be sure to lay out your furniture and place where you want any special items first before setting the room size. You'll then use the circulation and other clearance dimensions to determine the final size of your ideal room. I'll now give you 4 bonus tips that'll guide you on your overall house plan as it relates to the living room. The first bonus tip is, don't place the main entry to the house such that it opens directly into the living room. There's nothing worse than visiting a house and stepping directly into the family's main room, especially since that space is often untidy. The second bonus tip is, when the house is laid out, you should never force circulation between different areas of the house to cross through the room, especially from one corner to the opposite diagonal corner. This interrupts the enjoyment of the people using the space. The third tip is, never force circulation through the seating group. This has been a common problem for smaller homes and small living rooms and for poorly designed houses. This is where the furniture is on one side of the room while the focus of the room, typically the TV and fireplace, are opposite, but people are forced or allowed to cross the room between them. This interrupts the enjoyment of the people who are seated. The fourth bonus tip is, you can have primary circulation for the house along a side of the room, as long as it's wide enough to be comfortable and doesn't interfere with the seating group. Use all of the tips in this video to guide you through the process of planning your living room and house. Your diagram of the ideal living room will be used as a reference for the room size you'd like and the elements you want in it. However, don't carve that layout in stone. You'll likely need to adjust it to get the best results for the overall plan of the house, and you might even come up with a better layout. Be sure to go to www.hodeby.com, that's HODEBY.com, to find a lot more information on house design. I'm Cale, hoping you have a lot of fun designing your new home.